Next, we're excited to have Mr. Angus Tsang, Research and Investment, the Mills Fabrica, to present on stage to share with us Rethink Packaging Report by the Mills Fabrica. Please welcome Mr. Tsang.
Good morning, everyone. This is Angus, and I'm from the Research and Investment team of the Mills Fabrica. First of all, welcome all of you here at the Mills today. So the Mills Fabrica is an innovation platform of the Mills, and it's our mission to build an innovation ecosystem and to support early-stage companies through our incubation program and our investment support. So today, I'm very happy to give a sharing on research reports related to packaging we launched earlier this year to share with the audience some of the key insights from the findings. So the sharing will be serving as a summary of the report. So a quick background of this research project and the report. As packaging is an integral part to the fashion and agriculture and food industries that the Mills Fabrica is interested in. So last year we conducted a research project, and we talked to some consumer brands and asked them questions on the whole value chain, including at the pre-consumer and the consumer levels, to understand what are some of the initiatives and challenges they are facing from the production stage, manufacturing, distribution center, last mile to customer and end of life. So here is our findings. We identify 4 common initiatives by talking to the consumer brands and also from our secondary research. First of all, we realized that many actually would choose recycled materials as the first step. And indeed, they have different plans to adopt a certain percentage of recycled materials in the supply chain in the next 5 years. And many of them are also aware of the need to reduce the reliance on fossil fuel-based plastics. They have plans to reduce plastic usage to different extents, and some of them have even trialed the alternative bio-based materials. And we also realized that optimizing the packaging design is also a very common initiative mentioned by the brands. We see that they are already considering the amount of materials being used and also the recyclability in the first place, because this can help preempt the negative environmental impact at the beginning. And last but not the least, we noticed that many of them actually expressed the wish to work together to achieve the systemic change with unified incentives and to potentially overcome the economic hurdles together, enabled by the economies of scale. However, we do notice that there are challenges during our conversation with the brands in our interviews. So there are mainly 3 of them. The first one is inconsistent infrastructure, because not every city has the right infrastructure to collect and recycle the single-use plastic packaging materials. This is especially a big challenge for the global brands as they operate in many different locations. So it's hard for them to cope with the supply chain in different areas of the world. And for some of them who have trialed the bio-based alternative materials, they have expressed a concern on the performance of the materials, whether such bio-based materials can perform equally well as the conventional plastics we are using in the market at the moment. And also whether such bio-based alternative materials will have potentially other unseen environmental impacts that we still don't know yet. And finally, is generally speaking, a lack of the society-wide incentives to encourage wider behavioral change for each stakeholders, including the suppliers and the consumers. For example, we need more improved infrastructure, and if there is a better developed markets to transact those secondary materials, this can help push the adoption of these kind of recycled materials or alternative materials better. And in this research project, we are particularly interested in the topic of recycled materials versus alternative materials, because we realize that many of them will actually adopt recycled materials as the first step to try to resolve the problem. So we want to ask the first question is, are recycled materials really the solution to go? Can we embrace recycled materials completely? And we also noticed the emergence of a bio-based economy as an alternative to the fossil fuel-based economy that we see now. But can we consider these kind of alternative bio-based materials? How much do we know about them in terms of their environmental impact at the moment? So for the recycled materials, the good things about them is that brands are willing to adopt it, and we see that new regulation across the globe are emerging to try to target these single-use plastic packaging problems. However, if we look at the data from OECD, we notice that the current recycling rate of plastic is still quite low at about 9%. This is because of the challenges mentioned earlier, that we still don't have, there's a lack of consistent infrastructure, and we don't have a well-developed enough markets to enable the stakeholders or players to transact those secondary materials to give them a second life. And when it comes to alternative bio-based materials, there are three main criteria we have to consider if those consumer brands have to adopt them in the existing supply chain. First of all is whether they're ready to use and whether it is okay for them to adopt it into their supply chain immediately. And secondly is about the environmental impact. Do we have enough knowledge about the environmental impacts of such kind of new and alternative bio-based materials at the moment? And the challenges are that oftentimes for these novel materials to come to the markets in the first place, they are often quite expensive, which means they have the challenges of scaling up for wider adoption by the market. And also, the key point is also about the potential environmental impacts about this kind of materials. Will we create a new problem if we adopt these bio-based materials, or is it okay to just simply stick with the conventional materials that we are using at the moment? So our thinking is that we think that there are always two sides to everything, and there's no perfect solution. Whether it is recycled materials or alternative bio-based materials, we think that if we can learn to conduct life cycle assessment to try to understand the impacts of different kinds of materials with more data and in a more quantitative way, this can help us better make good decisions in the future. And most important key takeaway is that we realize that companies are at varying stages in terms of adopting more sustainable packaging practice. So in the reports, we recommend taking a gradual approach with short-term and long-term solutions. So for the short term, we think that one of the easier ways is by thinking from the product and packaging design that is achievable by everyone if they can think about the design in the first place in terms of how many materials are really needed, and have we considered the recyclability in the beginning when these materials have to dispose, are they able to recycle at the end? This can be achieved by everyone if we have a more thoughtful packaging design, and also we need more incentives, generally speaking. In the long term, we think that we should learn to grasp, to conduct a life cycle assessment to help us make better informed decisions in a quantitative manner. So this is the end of my sharing today, and I hope this quick report summary can be insightful to you. And if you're interested, welcome to download our reports or follow us, the Mills Fabrica, on our social media. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tsang. Please be seated. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, now we'll have a 10-minute networking break. Our next session will begin at 11:05 a.m. As a friendly reminder to help us improve, we appreciate if you could scan the QR code on the screen and to complete the online feedback form. Or you may also fill in the feedback form on your seat and submit the completed form at the reception counter. Thank you so much, and we will see you right after the break.